In this video, we're going to be introducing you to our new Easy Tools macro. Now, Easy Tools is a free macro that you can download for CorelDRAW X5 and CorelDRAW X6 32-bit. It may work in other versions of CorelDRAW, but it's definitely been tested in X5 and X6 32-bit. So if you want to give it a try, go ahead and give it a try. Now, you've probably recently seen some of these zebra fonts primarily, where you have a two-color font that you can cut out of either heat press vinyl or regular sign vinyl to create some really nice looking designs. And what we wanted was a tool that will automate that creation process for us. So if we want to use whatever type of texture, cheetah, zebra, giraffe, coyote, whatever type of texture we want to use, we'll be able to use it with this tool. And so that's what we're going to show you how this tool works. A couple of different ways you can use it, some different things to consider as you're creating your fonts. Now, what we're going to first show you is how to do it just letter by letter by letter. So the first thing we're going to do is just show you basically how it works. So let's make a copy of it. We're going to use that duplicate one later, but let's just show you generically how this thing works. So all we do is click on Add Vector Pattern. We can specify the amount of offset or outline. See that right now they have a little thin black outline? Well, that could be a little bit thicker. Let's do 4 millimeters. See that nice thick black outline? We'll go ahead and click OK. Now it's asking us to select a vector pattern. Let's use our zebra texture for this example. Now it's telling us please edit the vector pattern as desired and then hit the escape key. So what does this mean? Well, this allows us to modify it. So we could make it bigger, we could rotate it, we could do whatever we want to with it. And then once we're happy with it, we hit the escape key. And then this is the part where it's a little bit tricky. It says to select the unwanted shapes. Well, what's unwanted? Well, the solid A we don't need, so we'll delete that. And then the inside of that A, we don't need that either. So now it looks like we would expect it to look. So we'll go ahead and hit the escape key. Now this is another tricky part in regards to the offset. How much offset do we want? Well, the reason that we need an offset is when if we're screen printing, if we're using our sign vinyl, our heat press vinyl, we may get some shrinkage, we may not get it properly applied, so we want just a tiny bit of wiggle room so that the color of the shirt or the substrate that we're applying it to doesn't show in between the colors. And in the screen print world, we call it trapping, where we trap one color with another. So I usually use a 1/2 millimeter. You can kind of play with these values to see what works best for you, but usually it's a 1/2 millimeter. We can preview that offset first, but we're just going to hit apply because I know that's what I want. And now our font is done. Now, you see this right here. There's one part of this that's empty. And you say, well, the macro must have screwed up. No, actually the macro didn't screw up. It's just sometimes with certain vector textures, sometimes they'll give us a bit of a fit like that. And it just depends on the situation. And I'm going to show you in a separate video how to deal with that. But let me just give you an example. So let's run through it real quick again. We're just going to go 4. We're going to go ahead and pick that same texture. But this time we're going to rotate it and a different way. And we're going to resize it a different amount and then hit the escape key. We're going to delete the shapes that we don't want. Go ahead and apply the offset that we want, and now you can see we don't get that white space, right? So it just depends on the situation at hand. And again, in a separate video, we're going to show you how to deal with that white space. If that ever shows up, we're going to show you how to deal with that separately. But let me show you another example. Now, this example is probably a little bit more advanced, a little bit trickier, still easier than doing all the work yourself in CorelDRAW. But this is where we want to create a whole word. Okay, so let's go ahead and say I want to create the word cheer. Well, there are 2 E's in the word cheer, but for my example, I don't need to create both E's. I just need to create one E. So what we're going to do is come over here to our text properties and choose a 500% spacing between each of our letters. All right? And then we're going to run through this again. So let's go ahead and choose Add Vector Pattern. Let's do a 4mm offset just like we did previously. Let's go ahead and use our zebra texture like we did previously. And what we're going to do is position the zebra texture over one of the letters. We're going to rotate it. And then once we have it set for 1, the way we want it, we're going to copy it to the others. Just like so. Now once the zebra texture has covered each one of our letters, we'll hit the escape key. And then again we'll delete unwanted shapes. So what do we want? Right here at the edge. Solid C, solid H, solid E. Now the R, a little bit different. The outline and the middle part. And then hit the escape key. And what you'll probably notice in this scenario, we'll just go with the default offset. If you look at all of our letters, there's no white space. See that? So it just depends on the situation. Now, you remember I said that this is a little bit trickier because we're doing an entire word. And here's why. Because the green part is one piece, as is the red. And that's because we did all the letters at one time. And the reason that we did all the letters at one time is because we want to do the word cheer. And the amount of rotation and scaling of the texture, we wanted it to be the same for every letter. So we applied the rotation and scaling of our texture to one, copied it to the other, but now we're ready to break this apart. So how do we go about doing that? Well, the easy way to do that is just draw a box around it. I say easy. It is a few steps. But once you get the process down, it is actually quite easy. So we draw a box. We make a duplicate. Okay? So then all we have to do is delete one color or the other. So in this case, we'll delete the green, leaving us red. Then we right-click on our red, break it apart, and then each letter, Control L. That will combine, 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 and combine. So now we've combined all of the individual red bits of C, H, E, and R. Now up here, we're going to delete the red. And we're going to break apart the green. Right click, break apart the green. Same thing. Select all of our green. Control L, Control L. I'm going to back up because it looks like, see, we want to just select just that part of the H. Control L, Control L, Control C, Control R. See? So now we have all of that. And so all we're going to do is take this, copy it right down to here, and then all we have to do is delete that one extra box, and now we're going to group all these letters together. Okay, we're going to make a duplicate of our E, and then we're going to take these letters, and if you select them all and hit Shift P, see how it spaces them evenly apart? And what we're going to do now is just, again, we'll probably just take our R here, select all of our letters, Shift P, till we get the spacing between each of our letters the way we want to. Obviously, we don't want them to overlap, but you know, we want them fairly close. Shift P, there we go. So now we have our completed cheer design that is ready to cut. So that is how we can very easily create these type of zebra fonts using the Add Vector Pattern tool here in EasyTools.